Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tomato Blues Kitchen. Today we are going to look at a traditional sweet recipe. I am going to show you all how to make simply out of the world Krishna sweet style melt in the mouth ghee Mysore Pak. This video will also tell you how to fix your Mysore Pak in case it goes wrong. Now, I have included all the tips and tricks that I have learned over the years while perfecting the recipe for this absolutely divine Mysore Pak. So I'm sharing all of it here in this video. So do watch the video till the end. And friends, if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do subscribe and hit the bell icon for regular updates from our Tomato Blues channel. You can also find written recipes on tomatoblues.com. So now let us begin making our absolutely delightful Krishna sweet style ghee Mysore Pak. Before we begin making our Mysore Pak, let me roughly bring you all up to speed on the ingredients and the measurements that we are going to use today. We are going to be using half a cup of gram flour, that is besan, and we are going to be using roughly 1.25 cups of ghee. Not even 1.25 cups, it's like 1 cup. And we are going to be using 1.5 cups of sugar, and that's all is required for this particular Mysore Pak. And of course, the required amount of water. I have also included a detailed guide on making one string consistency sugar syrup. This video is there in our channel. Do check out that video if you're a beginner in making sweets. It really is very easy to achieve this one string consistency. So give it a shot, my dear friends. So before we begin the recipe, I also would like to mention here that I am making a huge batch of Mysore Pak, or rather I was making a huge batch of Mysore Pak, which is why I have scaled down this particular measurements for this particular video, and I'm mentioning the measurements for half a cup of besan or half a cup of kadla mavu. So our entire video is going to be based on this half a cup of besan measurement. Do not get confused with the amount of besan or sugar or the water that you see in the video. I'm telling you the measurements for half a cup of besan or kadla mavu. So in this video, I've scaled down the ingredients. So like I mentioned in the beginning, it's half a cup of besan, 1 cup of ghee, and 1.5 cups of sugar. You can also cut down on the sugar if you really want, but if you cut down on the sugar that I mentioned here, you will also have to reduce the quantity of water that I've mentioned here while making the sugar syrup. So let's get on to making our Krishna Sweets Mysore Pak. One more thing that I want to add here is you can also use a little bit of oil in place of all the ghee that I mentioned here. So we are going to be using 1 cup of ghee here. If you want, you can add 3/4 cup of ghee and 1/4 cup of vegetable oil in place of the 1 cup of ghee if you're very conscious about the calories. Now let us add the besan to a sieve, and let us sieve this besan completely, and let us make sure that our besan is lump free. This is a very important step in getting that ultimate melt in the mouth ghee Mysore Pak, because if you have lumps, then they tend to come in between and they tend to not cook properly, or rather, evenly in the sugar syrup and ghee. So do not skip this step, my dear friends. Make sure that your besan is completely lump free. Rub it along the sieve when you're sieving it, and this is how your kadla mavu should look like, or your besan should look like for your Mysore Pak. Now, like I said, we will get on to our next step. Before that, let us measure the amount of besan and keep it ready for our ultimate melt in the mouth Krishna Sweets Mysore Pak. So the next step would be getting our tray ready. Now this is a crucial step in making all kinds of barfi style Indian sweets, because do not go hunting for the tray when you've finished cooking the sweets. If you do this, the residual heat in the pan will overcook your sweets, and then your sweets may turn brittle and hard. So before we begin making our Mysore Pak, let us grease a tray and get it ready so that it will be correct to pour our cooked mixture and set it once it's done. Make sure that you grease a rectangular tray like this completely along the corners and up along the edges fully, so that when you put the cooked mixture and when it cools down, it will come out easily when you invert it. Again, greasing is a very important step, otherwise there's a good chance that your Mysore Pak will break or crumble when you invert it and when you try to take it out from your mold. Now that this is done, let us get on to making our actual recipe. Let us begin by making the syrup. Like I said, for this Krishna Sweet style melt in the mouth ghee Mysore Pak, we would require to make a 1 string consistency sugar syrup. For this, I am adding the sugar to a pan. I am using a heavy bottomed pan today. I do not have a heavy bottomed cast iron vanili or kadai, so I am just using an indolium vanili or kadai. But if you do have one like that, please do use it. I probably am going to throw out this indolium vanili or kadai very quickly. I'm really not happy with it because I am a believer that this is not very, friendly to you. So this is probably the last bit of indolium pan that I have. So now I'm going to add 6 tablespoons of water approximately. So friends, it's like 1.5 cups of sugar and 6 tablespoons of water. I'm using a measuring cup, but do not get confused. I have measured the water correctly. So use 6 tablespoons of water. The key here is to add just enough water to immerse the sugar. Now, if you add more water than mentioned here, there is a good possibility that your Mysore Pak will not be set well. Your mixture will be squidgy and it will look watery. It will not look like Mysore Pak. So trust me, my friends, this water measurement and the water sugar proportion is very important. The next step what we are going to do is we are going to allow the sugar to melt. I am doing it on low flame today, but you can crank up the heat to medium if you are very keen. You can see that the sugar has started to melt and the surface of the water or the surface of the syrup is also frothy at this point. Now bubbles are gathering, the syrup is boiling vigorously. This is an indication that our sugar syrup is completely melted, or rather the sugar in the water is completely melted. You will also see at this point that our sugar syrup is not thick. So we are going to let it thicken for 3 to 4 minutes, and from the 3rd to 4th minute we are going to check for our 1 string consistency. Like I mentioned, the 1 string consistency guide is already there on our channel, so do check it out for more detailed explanations on how to make the perfect 1 string consistency sugar syrup. Now once this consistency is achieved, let us add our half a cup of besan, and using a whisk, let us mix this besan into our sugar syrup. Make sure that there is no besan flour that you can see in the flour form itself on the surface of the sugar syrup. Basically, all the besan has to be mixed completely and thoroughly into the sugar syrup. Now this is how it will look. Make sure you scrape the sides and you add all the flour and mix it well to the sugar syrup. We are going to use 1 cup of ghee today, like I mentioned. So we are going to add our ghee in intervals. The first interval we are going to add 4 tablespoons of ghee. So every interval we are going to add 4 tablespoons of ghee. Once you have added the ghee, using the same whisk, keeping the flame at the lowest possible, begin mixing the ghee into the besan mixture until the mixture absorbs all the ghee. At some point, you will not be able to see a film of ghee over your besan ka mixture. Now this is how it looks once the ghee has been absorbed. Let us add the second interval of ghee, that is the next set of 4 tablespoons of ghee. 1 cup of ghee approximately measures 16 tablespoons. So we are going to add our ghee in 4 intervals today. Again, you put the ghee, you mix it into the besan and sugar syrup mixture in such a way that the mixture absorbs all the ghee. Remember friends, like I mentioned, do not be tempted to crank up the flame. If you crank up the flame, then your Mysore Pak will not be cooked well. You can also see that the mixture froths up around the edges here and there. Now the ghee has been absorbed. It is time to add our third batch of ghee. Again 4 tablespoons of ghee the third time. So the process remains the same. In case, like I mentioned, if you are substituting quarter cup of oil for the quarter cup of ghee in your 1 cup of ghee measurements, then you can even add oil at this particular point of time. So now mix it well, and like I said, wait for the ghee to be absorbed into the mixture. You can see that the ghee has been absorbed. There's no film of ghee floating on the top. Now it's time to add our last batch of ghee. So add all the remaining ghee and again repeat the whisking, the mixing process. This process is a little time taking and it's also a little, physically demanding. But you can do anything for these amazing melt in the mouth Krishna Sweets style ghee Mysore Pak. So from now on is when you have to keep an eye on your mixture. Eventually, the mixture will come away from the sides of the pan and you will also see that it begins to froth up and becomes porous here and there on the surface. Now the mixture is boiling. I'm using a ladle to stir it. Do not stop stirring or do not crank up the flame or do not leave this mixture unattended at any point of time, because then your Mysore Pak will not be Mysore Pak, it will probably be bricks of mortar. Now you can see that the mixture is coming away from the sides of the pan. So you will quickly see that the mixture is boiling, it's frothing up, and you can see that the mixture has also turned porous here and there. You can do a consistency check at this point. Add a small piece of this Mysore Pak mixture into a bowl of cold water. The mixture will solidify immediately without dissolving. In case you do not get this, continue to cook the mixture for a few minutes until you achieve this consistency. Now that we have completed making our Mysore Pak, add it to the grease tray immediately. Do not let it sit in the hot pan, because the residual heat in your pan will further cook the mixture and your Mysore Pak will turn hard and brittle. You may not get the perfect melt in the mouth Mysore Pak, but it still will be edible. So this is probably called as troubleshooting your Mysore Pak. Okay, so what happens if you overcook your mixture? Then there's a very good chance that your Mysore Pak will become hard and brittle. So do not overcook it, and like I mentioned, do the consistency test once you feel that you can see pores on the surface of the Mysore Pak and your mixture comes away from the sides of the pan. Put a small portion of the cooked Mysore Pak mixture into a bowl of cold water. If it solidifies immediately without dissolving, then that is the correct consistency. Now I am leveling it up. It's very important to level it, and it's also important to use the correct size pan while making Mysore Pak. Make sure that you choose a square or a rectangle pan for even shapes in your Mysore Pak pieces. Now that's it, my friends. Our brilliantly done melt in the mouth Krishna Sweets Mysore Pak is ready. You have to allow this mixture to completely cool down before you invert it. If you invert it before the mixture cools down, then your Mysore Pak wouldn't have set and it will in turn break. One more thing that you can do in case your Mysore Pak has not set properly is you can put the mixture into the fridge for a couple of hours. Your Mysore Pak would have solidified and it would still good to be go. So these are all the things that I did as a beginner some 10 years ago when I started to learn how to make Mysore Pak. These are all what I would call troubleshooting Mysore Pak tips and tricks. So I hope you found these things useful, and I really hope you try making this ultimate Krishna Sweet style melt in the mouth Mysore Pak, friends. Now let us use a sharp serrated knife and make light gentle cuts along the Mysore Pak. I'm not making very sharp cuts over here because the Mysore Pak is still yet to set. I'm going to let it sit and I'm going to allow it to cool, and then I'm going to further use another knife before inverting and make sharp cuts. So now our Mysore Pak mixture has cooled down and it's all set. So I'm going to invert it, but before inverting I used a knife to make sharper cuts. So now let us invert it. The pan would be very hot, so be very careful when you're doing this. In fact, that is why I could also not show you the entire batch of Mysore Pak being inverted. I was not able to handle the heat while holding the pan. And that's it, my friends. Our beautiful melt in the mouth Krishna Sweet style ghee Mysore Pak is ready. Serve it up as a dessert when friends come, or just make it as a treat whenever you feel like it. Either ways, it's a great thing to enjoy. It's basically divine bliss, like my daughter calls it. I hope you all enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making Mysore Pak for you all. So if you tried this recipe, please do click a picture and share it with us on Instagram by tagging us at Tomato Blues. You can find more recipes like these on our website tomatoblues.com. If you liked this video, then do not forget to hit the like button, leave a comment and share this video with your friends, family and all those loved ones. Thank you so much for watching, my dear friends. We'll be back soon with another video. Till then, take care, bye bye, stay home and stay safe.